Welcome to Let It Out Sis podcast, curated by Bria Myers. Now let's get started. So on today's episode, it is mainly about behind this podcast and what to expect with this podcast, what are the future goals, etc. So without further ado, first I'd like to introduce myself. I am the curator of this podcast. My name is Bria. I am 28 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I went to University of Memphis, and during college I also earned a certificate for suicide prevention training. I love to volunteer and help fundraise for St. Jude Research Hospital located in Memphis, Tennessee. I love to do the Up to Dawn and March of Dimes for preemie babies. Um, unknown fact is I was a preemie self. I was a preemie myself, so I like to participate and give back to the community as much as I can when I can, and if I can. My interests and hobbies are definitely blogging and YouTube. I do have a separate channel from this. My YouTube channel is Glamorous Bree. Um, on that channel, you get more of the personal fun side of me, where I do natural hair care. I do beauty and makeup and fashion. So if you like those kind of things, make sure you check it out. I will have it posted somewhere in this podcast. And also, I am a foodie. I love food. I love trying new food. I'm definitely open minded. Um, I love going to restaurants with my family, anywhere, everywhere. Um, I would say my favorite food is probably soul food, Mexican soul food, maybe Asian food. Well, not silly Asian food, maybe like spicy food. I love Creole food. It's bomb. I love anything with performing arts, visual art, music, theater, film, graphic design. I love just creating, painting. I love editing. I love writing scripts, songs, and poetry. I probably wrote about, I don't know, probably like 100 plus poetry that is not even out yet. I have a separate book. Maybe I'll publish that one day. I don't know. I'm definitely family oriented. Family is everything for me. I have actually two sisters and a brother, but I am the only child to my mom, and my two sisters and brother is from my dad. Um, but I grew up the only child with my mom. I grew up in a single parent home, but actually um, with my maternal grandmother as well. So I grew up around women. My auntie and grandmother raised me. I've been with women, like living with women and raised by women my whole entire life. Um, I was actually in college. I stayed in an all girls dorm. Um, Most of my friends, hello, are women, girls, and my first favorite job, I worked retail at a women's clothing store. So that was awesome just to see the diversity and different kind of women, and they like come to me and thank me for my service and just tell their life stories. And I just find that fascinating that we can connect and just fellowship with one another as women, because we need more uplifting, I should say. Because I strongly believe that when women support each other, incredible things happen. So, with that being said, that is actually the inspiration for this podcast. It started off as an idea that I um, had in college, maybe like 2012, 2013. It was actually my sophomore year, maybe it's like 2013. I was starting my sophomore year, and as I said, I was living in the girls' dorm, and my roommate at the time, who is my friend now, um, we would just hear stories from other peers, classmates, and just our other friends and people that we deal with on a daily basis when it comes to young women in college. And we was like, we don't have a platform to actually voice our opinion on things and share our experiences and share our stories without being judged, or just a little bit of guidance going into college and what to expect and how to deal with things that we go through. And so we wanted to create a platform. It was a joint effort. I told her about the idea and she agreed. Like, we should like create a platform for young millennials to share their experience in college. Because we love watching TV shows that portray, well, like back in the 90s, you know how they had Different World, where we saw the young women on college, they was going through relationships and all that. And during that time, I think maybe this was like later on in college, where Grownish Shack came on, and that was like the closest things that we had. But this was like after like our last semester or last year of college, so we didn't, that I feel like that was like the perfect show to showcase what we go through in college as young millennials and as young women. So I figured that was a way for us to connect with peers um, on campus and outside of campus. And actually, her and I, we had joined this uh, Bibership, I'm sorry, Bible class, um, where our RA, um, she had this friend who would come over and they would fellowship with us, and we'll have Bible study, I think every Wednesday. And people from other dorms would come that was friends of a friend of a friend, mutual friends, and we would all sit down together and uh, talk about scriptures, and she'll give us a sermon. We'll talk about how we interpret it, how we interpret it. I can't even talk. I'm sorry, y'all. You have to bear with me. This is my first time, but how we interpreted, how we interpreted our, how we interpreted the scriptures in our own words, and how we can relate it to our everyday situations. And I like that. I feel like I gain so much perspective on things, and I feel like that helped me, that actually got me spiritually to connect with um, young millennials as myself, and get to know each other and share our stories. Because once you share stories, you feel like you're the only person that's dealing with it until you actually talk about what you're dealing with. And then you will know, like, hey, you're not the only one, because this happens to me. And if they tell, like, they'll tell you, like a person would tell you what happened to them, and they'll give you like pointers and advice, and then we could just bond over that. And it's nothing like, and again, this was like diverse of young women from different backgrounds, different cultures, and no matter if we were white, black, Hispanic, Asian, we all could relate to one another. And that's what I really love about the group. And I noticed when we shared our stories, we created a bond, and it was some form of group therapy, where like we could share stories that that we necessarily didn't share with our close friends or our family, but just being able to relate within the now experience with somebody that's experienced the same thing as you. It's just something about that, and I feel like we still need that today. So, due to the process of the creation of the podcast, unfortunately, we did not have the time to actually sit down and do it. I mean, we wrote out what we was going to talk about and what time and all that, but due to our conflict schedules, we couldn't do it. We couldn't make time for it. And like, we either had homework to catch up on, we had work, actual work to do, and or we just had like personal issues that we had to deal with. And then outside of that, we still wanted to maintain a social life by going to concerts and special events on campus. So yeah, so I guess it was the right idea, but at the wrong time. Which brings me to today. I feel like with so much going on and different issues and mental health, and everybody has like let up their, well, got into their comfort zone or got out of their comfort zone, and it seems like the world is okay with being vulnerable and want to express their opinions and use their voices. And I see a lot of celebrities and just everyday people who are starting a podcast, but at the time of our idea, podcast wasn't necessarily popular as it is today, especially with millennials. Like, we just had radio stations, but our college, I don't think, had a radio station where we could, be ourselves on. But now, just hearing about everyone, like my peers and stuff, creating podcasts of their own, it just gave me inspiration to never give up on this dream of mine and this podcast. I feel like the time is now. Like, anything that you want to do, the time is now to do it. At first I was, a little skeptical and afraid. At first I was afraid. I was petrified. Just playing. Because, I didn't want people to say, "Oh, she just started doing a podcast till I said something." But little do you know, like, this was planned like years ago. Like, all my ideas, they're just ideas until they manifest into real life. Like, I have a whole bunch of ideas that I haven't talked about. I just kept it to myself personally, and now I feel like it's the time to do so. I've been patient, and I feel like now's the time to actually put forth effort of doing this podcast, because this is something that I am passionate about, and I would like to be more open and vulnerable with my experience and issues dealing with life, and my experience with college and all that. So I think it's a great time for me to do so. Like, not necessarily jump on the bandwagon, but just like go with the flow. Like, while it's trending, while everybody's at home and want to know about other people's story, it's the time to do so. So, what to expect about this podcast? What makes my podcast different? I would say this is not just my podcast, but this is for all women. This is for everyone podcast who want to voice their opinion. They didn't know how to, or they were afraid to do so. This is our podcast, and I wanted to create a safe space that is non-judgmental. That's you non. I don't even know what to say. Like, explains, it's self-explainable. Like, no judgment. This is a non-judgment free zone. So I want you to treat the listener, I want you to treat this as self-therapy. And with us all together, this can be sort of a group therapy. You see, a little sidebar with my psychological skills. I'm gonna use this degree, baby. So we could share our personal experience, and we can give advice to each other and help guide each other throughout our life journey and connect with each other. Um, and I also want to create a bond with you all, and you all create a bond with me and others within this community, so we can help reach personal goals and just be a community, man. Now, this is not necessarily just for women. Like, this is for all women, all diversities, all backgrounds, and not necessarily women. Men can listen to this too. Teenagers can listen to this too. I just don't want for it to be exclusive, but inclusive. Secondly, I have major future goals for this podcast. I would love to see this channel grow exceptionally well, and I want for it to create a movement, a girl power movement, if you will, all over, just state to state. Well, I should say city, state to state, continent to continent. I just want to create a huge platform and just diversify and make this like a program or a chapter per se. Like I said before, I wanted to create an inclusive program to help support and educate young girls and millennials. And I want to provide resources and aid to help young women and collaborate and partner with others, whether it's celebrities, whether it's other YouTubers, or just everyday people who have the same passion as I do. And luckily, we can generate a website exclusively for us to use, and we can communicate and, just express ourselves on it. And definitely want to go mainstream with this podcast. Absolutely. All in all, I'm super excited and anxious and anticipating to see where this is going. I'm going to put all my trust and faith in God. Whatever God just, I'm speechless. Like, I can envision so many things that I wish that y'all can like get in my brain and see the amazing things that I wish for this podcast already. Like, I feel like this is gonna be a movement. This is gonna be revolutionary, and I just can't wait. And I hope that you are convinced and you would want to join this movement with me. And I thank you oh so much for listening this far. If you reach the end of this podcast, again, I deeply appreciate you for listening. And this will not be the last that you will hear from me. And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Will you be listening? This is my first recording, first podcast introduction. So just bear with me. My anxiety is like, anxious and anxiety is like doing a battle rap right now. So yes, over time it will get better. I promise. But again, thanks for listening to Let It Out Sis podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this channel to get an update on the next episode. And I already got it planned, sis. Be proactive. So thank you once again. Peace, love, and soul. Don't forget to check out my other channel, girl. If you want to see what I look like and what I do on the side, or just you're curious to know, don't forget to go ahead right here under this It says Glamorous Brief. You just click that. That's a link to my other channel. Go ahead and check it out. Subscribe to it. And, just support your girl. Thank you.